Profits at German carmaker Porsche plunged by nearly 96% in the first 9 months of this year.
Latest development on the Dutch takeover of Chinese-owned semiconductor chip manufacturer XPeng, which is based in the Netherlands.
Profits at German luxury carmaker Porsche have collapsed in a way the world has never seen before. Not a small decline, not a correction, but a devastating 96% plunge in just the first 9 months of this year. Across the automotive world, the giants of European luxury are hitting the brakes hard. Brands like Porsche and Mercedes, once symbols of unstoppable engineering power, are now struggling to keep their wheels on the road. Their biggest gamble, the aggressive shift toward electric vehicles, is falling apart. Sales are dropping, costs are exploding, and the profits that once defined German dominance are disappearing at a terrifying pace.
World's biggest luxury car makers are hitting the brakes. We're talking about brands like Porsche and Mercedes. They bet heavily on electric cars, but that bet is unraveling.
Something has shifted in the global auto market, and this time, it's not a simple slowdown. This is deeper, more structural, and far more dangerous. Because Porsche, the brand long considered the pinnacle of precision, speed, and elite craftsmanship, is now facing the sharpest, fastest, and most shocking collapse in its entire history. Handelsblatt reports a near 99% year-over-year profit crash, pushing the company into a turmoil few inside Germany ever imagined. This is not a bad quarter. This is not an unpredictable problem. This is a breaking point, one that threatens the very structure of Germany's automotive empire. Behind closed doors in Berlin, conversations once unthinkable are now happening openly. Partial sale, full sale, foreign investors. For the first time in decades, Germany is seriously discussing whether Porsche, its national icon, might fall into foreign hands. Inside the factories, the situation is just as alarming. Assembly lines that once roared non-stop have gone silent. Major suppliers, some of whom have worked with Porsche for generations, say their contracts have suddenly been paused or canceled. That legendary aura of invincibility surrounding Porsche is fading fast. And what is emerging is a crisis with the power to shake the very foundation of Europe's entire automotive industry. Because Germany's broader economic struggle is now feeding directly into Porsche's downfall. The country that once powered Europe's growth is sinking deeper into recession. The energy crisis sparked by the war in Ukraine has pushed industrial costs to record highs. In many divisions, electricity and gas bills have increased fourfold. Inflation is eating through profits. Consumer confidence has collapsed. Factories that used to operate around the clock now run at minimum capacity. German automakers once thrived on a simple advantage. Cheap energy plus world-class engineering equals global dominance. But with energy costs exploding, that advantage has evaporated overnight, and the entire German model, built over decades, is now cracking under pressure. But rising energy prices are only one part of the storm. The real earthquake is coming from China. A new wave of Chinese automakers, BYD, NIO, XPeng, has rewritten global competition in just a few years. They've entered Europe with electric cars that are not only cheaper, but more advanced in software, battery technology, and AI integration. What Europe once dismissed as a distant threat has become a force reshaping the entire market. These sleek, software-driven Chinese EVs appeal to a new generation, one that values innovation over nostalgia, technology over tradition. Reuters reports that Chinese EVs have jumped from 2% to an astonishing 22% of the EU market in only 2 years. A shift so massive, so fast, that European automakers have been caught completely off guard. For Porsche, a brand built on power, status, and mechanical perfection, the transformation strikes at its core identity. The automotive world has changed its language. It's no longer about combustion power or handcrafted engines. The race is now about battery range, charging speed, software updates, autonomous capability, and AI-driven performance. And Porsche, despite its decades of mastery in combustion engineering, is unprepared for a world measured in kilowatts and data. But the biggest danger lies even deeper, in the global supply chain itself. Electric vehicles depend heavily on rare earth elements like lithium, nickel, graphite, and neodymium, and China controls most of the global extraction, refining, and processing of these materials. According to the European Commission, more than 80% of the components used in Porsche's Taycan batteries and its next-generation EVs come from Chinese suppliers. If that supply is disrupted, Porsche's production could collapse within months, and this is no longer a hypothetical threat. China has already begun tightening its export controls on key minerals. The Mercator Institute for China Studies says these moves are strategic, not accidental, part of a long-term plan to increase leverage over Europe's most valuable industries. Once these industries grow weak, they become easier to influence, easier to pressure, easier to acquire. Insiders in Berlin say Chinese investors have already attempted to acquire stakes in Porsche multiple times. Each time, the German government intervened, terrified of public backlash and fearful of losing a national symbol. A former official from Germany's Ministry of Industry revealed that back in 2023, Chinese diplomats quietly proposed a strategic partnership, one that included advanced battery technology, long-term investment, and deep industrial cooperation. Berlin rejected the offer, but Beijing didn't walk away. It changed its strategy. With German automakers now weakened, China is advancing with precision, using economic pressure, global supply chains, and soft power diplomacy to regain the upper hand. Chinese state media has begun pushing narratives about the overvaluation of European brands and the inevitable shift of industrial power toward Asia. Analysts call this the pre-takeover phase, shaping global opinion ahead of major acquisitions. Bloomberg reports that several Chinese investment funds operating indirectly through Hong Kong and Singapore have already prepared offers to buy controlling stakes in Porsche. What appears private on paper is backed by powerful state-owned players in Beijing. Inside Germany, panic is rising. The Bundestag has held emergency closed-door sessions, calling this not just an industrial crisis, but a crisis of national identity, because Porsche is not merely a company. It is Germany's pride, its symbol of precision, its global status, and losing it would signal the end of an era. Officially, these investment funds appear private, but behind the curtain, everyone inside Berlin knows the truth. The real power belongs to Beijing's state-backed giants. And inside Germany, the reaction has shifted from concern to outright alarm. The Bundestag has now held multiple closed-door emergency sessions as lawmakers grapple with what many are calling a crisis of national identity. Because Porsche is not just a company, it is Germany's cultural emblem, a badge of precision, engineering excellence, and global prestige. Losing Porsche wouldn't just be a corporate defeat. It would mark the collapse of an entire era of European industrial dominance. But China's ambitions stretch far beyond taking over a single iconic brand. Economists warn that Beijing is attempting to rewrite the global industrial order, an order Europe once controlled for decades. For years, Europe set the benchmark in design, luxury, and advanced engineering. Today, it is China dictating the speed, the innovation, and the future path of the industry. China now leads in electric mobility, battery technology, rare earth processing, and digital infrastructure, the core foundations of the modern industrial world. And Porsche's crisis is merely the most visible chapter in a much larger transformation. BMW, Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, all are becoming more dependent on China for both sales and raw materials. But Porsche, because of its symbolic weight, is the first to feel the full intensity of this global shift. Inside Porsche's Stuttgart headquarters, the atmosphere is tense and uncertain. Executives are weighing three painful choices: cut production even further, risking long-term damage to the brand, sell key assets just to keep operations afloat, or accept a strategic partnership with Asian investors. A move many insiders fear is simply a polite doorway to foreign control. None of these paths are safe. But the deeper the crisis grows, the more likely Porsche will be forced into a corner it can no longer avoid. Analysts say this moment is exactly what China spent the last decade preparing for. While Europe argued over environmental rules and subsidy limits, China built a self-sufficient electric ecosystem, mining the resources, refining the materials, developing world-leading batteries and scaling production at a speed Europe simply couldn't match. Now that long-term strategy is paying off. In this economic chess match, China holds the first move, and it's playing with absolute confidence. If nothing changes in the next year or two, experts warn that Porsche could officially fall under Chinese ownership, likely under the comforting language of a life-saving partnership. But beneath that language would lie something far greater: Europe's quiet surrender to a new industrial reality. A reality where German engineering is no longer untouchable. Berlin knows the stakes, and it's scrambling to act. Inside the ministries, emergency meetings have become routine. According to reports from Die Welt, Chancellor Friedrich Merz has ordered the drafting of a massive support package for the auto sector. Ideas on the table include state-funded investments, public-private rescue programs, and even partial nationalization of major automakers, all to prevent foreign takeovers. But the government is deeply divided. The Ministry of Finance warns that such large-scale interventions could push Germany into an unsustainable financial burden. Meanwhile, members of the Industrial Committee argue that saving Porsche alone won't fix what they call a system-wide industrial collapse. Political factions are clashing. Some believe intervention is a matter of national pride, insisting that Germany cannot allow its most iconic brands to fall under foreign control. Others fear that saving failing companies will only delay the painful but necessary transformation of the industry. And while Germany argues with itself, China continues expanding its influence, calm, patient, and unmoved by Europe's internal conflicts. In Beijing, the official response to Germany's warnings has been cool and almost dismissive. China's state agency Xinhua published a series of articles declaring that Europe's era of industrial dominance is over and that Germany must adapt to the new global balance. It's a message resonating across Asia, one that highlights China's growing confidence on the world stage. But the psychological damage of this crisis may be just as devastating as the financial one. Porsche has always represented more than wealth. It symbolized the strength, innovation, and proud legacy of European craftsmanship. To see that emblem face the threat of foreign takeover has left industry veterans and lifelong fans feeling betrayed. If Porsche truly falls under Chinese control, it will never again be the Porsche we knew, wrote Automotor on Sport, echoing a sentiment spreading across Europe. This imbalance did not happen overnight. It is the outcome of decades of strategic planning. China spent years securing control over raw materials, refining processes, and global supply chains. Europe, meanwhile, relied on its reputation, confident that legacy alone would hold its ground. But legacy is no longer enough. In a world where consumers choose smart, connected, AI-driven vehicles, the roar of traditional engines is losing its power. If Europe fails to innovate, truly innovate, then Porsche's collapse will not be an isolated incident. It will be the first warning shot in a larger industrial battle that Europe may already be losing. And if no breakthrough technology, no bold political decision, and no unexpected lifeline arrives, then yes, Europe may soon witness one of its proudest symbols pass quietly into foreign hands. The fall will not come with dramatic speeches or explosions. It will come through signatures, board decisions, strategic partnerships, and silent factory closures that slowly rewrite the last 70 years of industrial history. So the question remains, will Germany find a way to defend its industrial soul? Or is this the moment Europe watches its legacy slip away? Will Porsche be remembered as an icon of perfection or as the first great symbol to fall in a silent economic war? Thanks for watching. If you want to stay ahead of the stories shaping the new global order, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. so you don't miss what happens next.